We're live. Hey, Marilyn, welcome to the show. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Nathan. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about organic strategies to sign more clients for your agency, and that's primarily through outreach and different top of funnel strategies. You mentioned you have a podcast, you have some outreach strategies. So to kick things off, maybe you can just tell us who you are, what you do, give a little background on yourself, and we'll dive in.
Absolutely. My name is Marilyn Jenkins. I am the CEO and founder of MJ Media Group and Law Marketing Zone. I've been doing digital marketing since the mid 90s. Classically started out to help friends and business owners build websites and then rolled into marketing. And then just from referrals, it just grew to be a business instead of a hot side hustle. And it's just been a full-time thing for quite some time now. In 2018, I really started marketing to attorneys because due to referrals, it just turned out to be something really, really good. And I was able to over deliver for them with paid ads like on Meta, PPC, and SEO. So that's what our business is mostly structured as now. And yeah, so in 2024, I ran into some challenges in Facebook ads for my agency. So really doubled down on organic, and that's what we've been doing and growing the business organically in 2024, and it's going really well.
Nice. So maybe we can start with what didn't work. So you mentioned the Facebook ads, they weren't hitting for you. What were some of the issues that you were running into there that were just, making it not the right fit?
Facebook ads did an amazing job for me. I mean, to the point like one year I spent like 115 grand and made 400. I mean, it was
Mm,
just Facebook ads was working incredibly well. It's like my ads got hijacked, for lack of a better reasoning behind it. Support couldn't figure it out either. Literally every lead that came through was fake. And I mean, it was thousands and thousands of dollars. And it was before the Black Friday Q4 kind of thing, but it was November 2022. And, we tried everything. We did a new pixel, we did a new landing page, everything. And just nothing worked for months
mm.
on end. So I jumped down to just retargeting ads, right? Low budget retargeting ads, which always work really well. And you run testimonial videos, so that worked. But as far as for the main outreach, which I'd always depended on, that was one thing that just stopped working. And to this day, it just doesn't work for a direct outreach, even to custom audiences for some reason.
Oh,
And I've went through 3 pixels. So what's the problem? Don't know.
yeah,
But
that can happen sometimes. So I guess that's why traffic diversification is so important, just having multiple sources so you're not so reliant on one. Because I've heard a lot of stories like that where Facebook ads just stop working for someone, or the CPMs or cost per lead just get out of control. And then it's
yeah.
like what was, a 4x ROI is now like a 1x or less sometimes. So,
Yeah, I mean, and I've got clients that we're sitting at 14 to 18x ROI on a consistent basis across 3 to 4 years of ads, and just chugging along great. They're growing their business, that sort of thing. But for mine, it was crazy. I've never seen such a thing. So had already started dabbling in a few things as far as more organic outreach. So just doubled down because, I depended on paid ads to grow my agency early on. So I just kind of leaned into writing the books, monthly webinars, it's really sitting on LinkedIn a lot, automating that LinkedIn outreach, and then doing podcast guesting, and then eventually my own podcast.
nice. So what would you say is like your strongest top of funnel channel right now in terms of audience growth?
I think it's always been LinkedIn, right?
Mm,
And I use that audience. Like I've got almost 16,000 connections. I use the attorneys in that to grow my podcast. So I wrote the book, the first white book there on the shelf, the Google Business Profile Training Guide, to try to explain to small businesses how important your Google Business Profile is. Yes, it's a key, it's a way to get in for SEO services, but it's more importantly, it's so incredibly important for small businesses to help them grow locally, right? And
mm.
people just don't realize the difference in Google My Business and Google Business Profile. So that's what I started guest appearancing on. And then my coach was like, you really should have your own podcast. So I did guest appearances about 50, and then I started my own podcast. And we started weekly last July, and then very quickly moved to twice a week. And literally by cultivating my network on LinkedIn to get guests. Because Leadership in Law is my podcast, and it's where we like to talk about, what's your story? And everybody likes to hear what everybody's story is that's gone before them, right? What can I learn from you? And so I interview attorneys to talk to attorneys as well as service providers. And we focus on the leadership aspect. What did you do to grow? These different kind of things like that. So that's what we focus on. And it's been a really good results and really well received.
Amazing. So LinkedIn has been like your strongest, like make connections, grow the audience, and then the podcast is kind of a vehicle for nurturing that audience and providing them with a ton of value. Is that kind of high level summary?
Exactly. Yeah. Like the books are important, the webinars, to just build that authority in the area. And then recently we opened a paid community, so a private community. So all of these things to build, the top of funnel and start bringing them in. And eventually, obviously, a low ticket paid community to move into the high ticket done for you service.
Love that. So what kind of value do they get in your low ticket community? Because that's a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we do office hours each week. We're doing video interviews. So what we're doing is we're taking select videos from the podcast. So our podcast is video and audio. So we're taking select interviews and putting them in the paid community before they publish as a podcast. All of our lead magnets are in there. Previous courses that we created for the Google Business Profile to walk you through Google Ads Masterclass, including retargeting and optimization. All of that is in there for free. So, and it's just designed for you for so many clients. And the reason I wrote the first book is so many potential clients are not to the point they're ready to outsource their marketing. So I wanted to put it so it's affordable for everyone. So there's the book, and then all the books are on Amazon as well, and then the books are in the paid community.
Nice. So the books are pretty actionable. It's not fluff. It's like you can read it and implement some things and get some wins.
Exactly. I mean, all of them have steps in it, but the training guide is literally a step-by-step point of what to do. And and the most recent one, the 2025 guide, talks about a lot of different aspects of local visibility instead of just your Google Business Profile.
Yeah, writing a book is a big feat. So, what's your secret to getting a book done, and how did you go about it?
Well, a lot of it just starts with the brainstorming a title. An outline. And one of my good friends was was an editor for a magazine years ago. So it's been helpful to sit down and go, okay, she knows nothing about tech, so it helps to do that. And then just going through, and the point was I didn't write the book in order. This is what I want to talk about here. This is what I want to talk about. So you start with your outline and just pick a spot, and my goal was to write one chapter a week. And, instead of going, I have to write a book, that makes it huge. So it just made it so much easier.
Step by step, brick by brick, piece by
Yeah.
piece. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
do the research. And nonfiction books are actually a lot easier. You can do some research. And years ago when I was in publishing, I went to a seminar where a guy was talking about how to do this. And basically take a 3-ring binder and put a divider for each chapter. And figure out what do you want to talk about in each chapter. Do your research, put it in that section of the binder. And then when you get the binder where you want, then sit down and write the book. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've heard people who actually they do what you do. They make the outline and then they just voice note, like brain dump all the information that they know and get it transcribed. And then they work with their transcriptions and their research and like edit it into something a little more cohesive. So I
Yep,
thought that was kind of
exactly.
a cool hack.
Yeah, it's a great idea with the voice note. And then just making sure that you're writing it at like the 6th grade level and it's actionable. No one wants to read, college level, this is how you do something. We'll make it simple so if I'm tired, I can still learn something or move forward with it if I'm reading.
Mm. And how do you get people to actually buy the book? So, you're reaching out to them on LinkedIn, they're checking out your podcast. Are you talking about the books actively in your content to be like, hey, you can buy this if this is something you're looking to achieve? Or what's your strategy for actually driving book sales? Because that's a whole other thing.
Yes, exactly. I do ads whenever I run ads for the books, but the Google Business Profile, I talk about that actively on my guest appearances. And then I have it, I advertise with, I'll do a bonus episode that's just not numbered. We're in season 2 now for the podcast, but what we do is I just do little bonus episodes and talk about the books as they come out, and then promote them on all my social medias. So that's what's worked really well. And then putting them on Amazon. And so now everywhere I guess that's in the show notes is the Amazon link to the books, and that's helpful. And in the end, if I've got a warm lead of somebody who I think is very close to doing business with me, I'll send them a copy of whichever book is most appropriate for them. And
That's
it just
great.
shows up. Yeah, so it's a freebie to give away, and it's a value. I mean, people aren't going to throw away a book like they might do a printout of a lead magnet, right, or a checklist. A book they're not going to throw away. It's going to live on their desk or on their bookshelf or on their bedside table. So your name's going to be there for a while. And so and considering that, it's like $7, have it printed and shipped by Amazon. It's not that expensive. It's a great way of getting your name on someone's desk.
Wow. And did you get physical copies printed, or is it like a print on demand type of situation? How does that?
Actually, both. They're both available. So I'm printing on demand with Amazon KDP, and then I can go in and order 20, 25, 50 books if I'm going to an event. So I just recently ordered like 25 books and had them delivered to the hotel I'm going to be staying at. So I'll pick those up and take them to events, so I don't have to travel with them. So makes it very easy. You just have to schedule, because knowing how long it's going to take Amazon to print and ship, but that's it.
Mm. Yeah, that's a huge differentiator and an authority building piece too, because a lot of people they don't have that. So it helps you stand out for sure, because it's like
Yeah.
0.01% of people maybe have a book about what they do.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you're looking at, say, 2 different agencies, and it's like, okay, and this one, she's written a book. This one, the other one, okay, there's some testimonials. Well, I've got video testimonials, case studies, and I've written a book. So, when you're looking at the 2, it is an amazing authority building. And especially when you look, I have 3, and 2 of those were published in 2024. Granted, one was the end because of the 2025 when it came out in December.
Amazing. Cool. So I'd love to dive into your LinkedIn strategy a little bit and hear just kind of how you're building your audience over there. I know we kind of talked about the capabilities of LinkedIn marketing a little bit when we first met. So what's your overall thought and strategy for outreach and nurture over there? And how are you kind of leveraging your process?
Yeah, so I've tried LinkedIn ads a few times. You know how you get these emails which you get a credit, and I've never really had any success with LinkedIn ads. So what I did for the longest time, for like the last 4 years, I've been using a server-based software. It's called Ulink. There's also WeConnect. There's all these different ones that work to using Sales Navigator, being very granular about who I want to connect with. And so I start with a connection request and then start a conversation. My entire conversation is either giving value, as in a lead magnet, or inviting them to my podcast. So started building my connections that way. Like I said, it's grown to almost 16,000 now. And so from that, I've done probably 14, 15 months ago, I started doing monthly webinars. So now you can invite 1,000 people per week to your webinar. So you book it like 2.5 weeks out, and you get 3 runs at 1,000, right? So we're constantly inviting people, running the webinar, so that helps. And then in November, we started a newsletter. So, and I did it on my personal profile, not on my page profile, so you can get much more traction with it. And I've had 3 episodes published. We're coming up on the 4th, and we have over 2,100 people that subscribe to it.
That's amazing.
So, the only problem with that is you don't have those people's contacts. So those 2,100 are probably not on my connection list, right? So when you start a podcast or a newsletter on LinkedIn, LinkedIn will then suggest it to other people. So
Interesting.
once you have your SSI, the sales index, over 75, you become more discoverable. And if you don't know what that is, go to your Sales Navigator, and under your settings or about, look at your social selling index, I think is what SSI means. And if you get your number up to 75, you're more discoverable in the algorithm. So mine was sitting at like 74 for like 4 months, and all of a sudden it's 77. I'm like, ah!
You did it.
So it hit 77 the week that my newsletter came out. And
Amazing.
so we promote a couple of the podcasts. We promote, the calls to action to reach out, and then the paid community or whatever's happening this month. So my CSM lays it out. We brainstorm what we want to say this month, and then she runs it. And the way it works is when it comes out, it goes into those subscribers' email inbox. That's high deliverability. And that's something that my coach does it weekly. So it works really, really well that you can get more of an audience that way. So I think that's a big thing to do on LinkedIn, is you can do that. We have obviously the page. We've invited enough people so we could do more things on the page, but I find that I've got a bigger audience personally. So that's why we're running the newsletter personally.
Makes sense. So how long did it take you to get up to 16,000 connections? Because that's a big accomplishment.
About 4 years of really consistent, and then I go in every so often and remove some old invitations that people just never accepted, because, there's always people that aren't actually active on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then probably once every 4 to 6 months, I'll do a special connection message that goes out to everyone I'm connected to promote about whatever I'm doing. Like the new book when the book came out, I wanted to tell everybody about the book. So adding value, not one of these, can you use 10 to 15 new clients a month? Not the classic sales pitch. Add value and share important information.
Wow. And then, with the newsletter, I understand it's always good to kind of convert the traffic you rent into traffic you own. So are you able to put links in your newsletter? Like, hey, if you want more information for this, or like, if you want a copy of my book, here's a link,
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And then unfortunately, I use the Amazon links for the book, so I don't own that traffic, but there's always the call to action to book a call with me, visit the paid community. So yeah, and when you do a newsletter on LinkedIn, it's literally publish an article, right? In a post, you do it as an article, and then once you've got that screen open, you can set up your newsletter. And so you've got an image header, you do it all, so you've got all the graphics in there. And so we were able to set everything up, and then so whenever we go to publish a new one, it'll say edition 3, edition 4, whatever. You can just add a new edition to it, and that way they're all cataloged together. So it was incredibly easy to set up a newsletter. I kind of didn't do it for the longest time because I kept thinking, I got all these things going on, it's too much of a pain. No, 5-minute Google, done, easy. So, I mean, laying it out and make it pretty took more time than it was how to learn how to do it.
Wow. Yeah, I've done some article publishing on LinkedIn, and it is very effective. And I think I'm going to actually focus on that platform more just because of these capabilities. It's very good for establishing thought leadership and authority with the articles you can publish, like you mentioned, the newsletter too. So you can kind of get like opt-ins without having an email list, so to speak. And yeah, I think it's a great organic platform for the right person.
Yeah, and especially the fact that LinkedIn will suggest your newsletter to people. So my coach is doing this every week. I think he said, his is growing exponentially, and he gets people booking on his calendar, and he has no idea where they came from till they show up and they're like, oh yeah, your LinkedIn newsletter. It was
Wow.
suggested to me. They loved it. So, I mean, it is definitely effective.
Hmm. So I'm curious about your overall outreach strategy because we've talked a lot about adding value. Something I'm considering doing, and I'd love to hear what you're doing as well, is making the connections, sending that initial message that's just like an icebreaker, like great to connect with you, that kind of thing. And then from there, maybe you send a follow-up that's like, hey, I have this awesome resource to help you
Mhm.
grow your law firm. Would you like the link? Something like that. Maybe you can tell
Exactly.
me. Okay.
That's exactly it. Connect. Hey, I see you're in my industry. I just want to connect and see if we can support each other. Either you do or you don't. And then if you do, literally, I offer you a lead magnet, which is, an ultimate checklist of something. It could be ads, it could be SEO, it could be just generic internet, your internet marketing. So
Hmm.
just, I think I have maybe 12 different lead magnets out on the web at this point. So yeah, just offer something and then the next process. And it's not like hitting them every 3 days, this is a conversation. And if they're not on LinkedIn very often, then you don't want them to show up at LinkedIn and there's like 15 messages from you and they're like, whoa.
Like, yeah, this person's desperate.
Yeah, exactly. So, and, and then it goes around to every 4 weeks they'll get a message, and then, hey, your profile popped up on my feed again. I thought I'd reach out. Things like that that makes it sound like you're really talking to somebody instead of it's all automated.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. I think the human touch is going to be more and more valuable, especially with AI and everything. Like having some humanity in your marketing is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, and people can tell. I mean, I see it when I'm going through the messages I get, and you're like, yeah, you didn't write that. You know, I mean,
Totally.
even there's bots that are responding to posts on LinkedIn now, and you can tell all they do is take and summarize the entire post in 2 sentences, and you're like, yeah, that's AI. I mean, someone's not even taking the time to actually read your post and say anything. I'd
Mm,
rather you say great post than give me 2 AI sentences of what I just said, you know?
yeah, that's silly. So, okay. So it sounds like, you've got your top of funnel through LinkedIn, you're guesting on podcasts. Anything else you're doing on the lead gen side personally?
We send SEO emails or videos to a certain number of law firms each week through Facebook Messenger. So we're using a lot of different outreaches. It's just, I mean, more and more. I have a service, I send about 200 postcards a month out to law firms just saying, hey, nice to meet you. This is who I am. This is what we do. If you need any help, reach out. Just things like that. And so online and offline. So trying to be right where they are. And I'm also working with bar associations to do CLE trainings, which is continuing learning education. Not unlike dentists or doctors, law firms, lawyers have to keep up education to keep their bar license current.
Nice. So yeah, that's huge. So associations, LinkedIn outreach, Facebook outreach, direct mail, those are
And
kind of like,
webinars. Yeah.
hmm. Are you doing like joint venture webinars to tap into other people's audiences, or is this like,
Um, that opportunity has come up in the last, I've done 4 virtual events where I'm presenting something about marketing in someone else's audience. So I've done 4 of those. I've got 2 or 3 coming up, all come from podcasting. As far as, I guess that's kind of yes, the answer to your question. My webinars on LinkedIn to my audience are literally me teaching. And it's not like, you see the classic webinar from Russell Brunson where you teach for 20 minutes and you spend 30 minutes going through this value stack and closing them. It's not that at all. It's a 20 to 30 minute teaching step by step how to do this thing. And then at the end, if you don't want to do it, book a time.
hmm.
It's never, I'm not selling a value stack. My call to action is typically book a time. We can help you with that.
Yeah, that's what I teach people too. And I think a lot of people get lost in these like frameworks or ideas from these big marketers that are good in theory, but they just don't apply to your niche in the same way. Like, for example, me doing a three secrets webinar with all this belief shifting and a hero's journey story, it's like people are kind of over it. And I think
Yeah, I think
there's a,
the hero's journey just feels a bit schwarmy to me. I mean, it's just like, it's not like I was great and I lost it and I got it back. I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
not
nobody's
everyone
journey is
fits.
up and to the right, right? There's always going to be bumps along the road, but it's not like there's a dramatic chasm you cross to be able to, succeed. Yes, I've been doing this since the mid 90s. I've been a geek since I was 9, but it's like it's a growth pattern. You learn, you grow, you do more. And so I just want to teach. And the more you can teach, either they're overwhelmed and need your help, or they learn and they do it themselves. And we reach another point, they'll contact you.
Hmm. So once you get people booking calls, are you doing a traditional like two call sales process, a discovery call, and then a proper like 40-minute plus call to get them enrolled? Like, what does that look like?
It's really interesting with all this outreach, all this education. People come way more pre-sold, right? I mean, I still have an intro call, which is a discovery call or whatever word you want to use for it. It's usually a 15-minute. My first call is a phone call. We get on a call and we talk and see if there's some synergy there, if it's something I can help you with, if you have a budget, and then we book a Zoom call. And on the Zoom, we go through everything. answer all of your questions, find out your goals, show you how our system works. And I'll tell you, with all this outreach, my deck, I don't literally go through my deck like I did 2 years ago. I don't need to. There's enough out there of what I'm doing and they know enough about me. We jump around the deck in what it is you want to talk about. I never make more than one offer. So yeah, we do meta ads, we do PPC, we do LSAs, we do SEO and Google Business Profile, but I never offer all of that. I know from the 15-minute phone call what you're interested in going into, what you need help with. So my entire conversation on Zoom is focused on what your need is. Now, if you divert the conversation like from, say, SMM to SEO, fine, we can do that. But I'm not going to go and offer you, these are our 3 packages.
Yeah.
A confused mind always says no. And I had one person actually tell me that, and she was giving me a presentation to buy a coaching program. And in the end, she offers me 3 different packages were almost mind-blowingly different. They were just payment plans. And it's like, okay, here's the cost, or 2 times, or 3 times, if you do it by this time. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's too much.
yeah, pick a number, honey. Pick a number. Don't offer too many options. And I also tech build out fees, are so very important that a lot of people don't do, and they're just afraid they can't get them. And everything we do is high value, right? Whether it's building out a custom snapshot and go high level, so there's automations built in that helps them close their business, close their clients. Build value in what you do, and you can get that setup fee that helps you pay those hard costs or soft costs if it's your own team doing it. But there's a value in what we do to get the program set up that we run for our clients.
Love that. Yeah. And, I can speak to what you're talking about with the longer nurture cycle and the ease of closing. In my last business, when I was working with coaches, I had, 3 to 6 months of nurture content, and then I'd run a webinar and effectively get people to apply to work with me off the back end of that. So that eliminated the discovery call, and then we just have like one deep dive call, and then typically, a shorter decision call after that when they're like fully aware of the program and like more invested. So I think it's wise. A lot of people, especially like if you learn from like Cole Gordon or Alex Hormozy or guys like this, it's like direct to sale, which is
And I
a
don't
lot
think the one
harder
call
to
close
pull.
is, yeah, I agree with you. I know people preach about the one call close, but I don't think that's giving people the benefit of the doubt. How many people are going to pull the trigger on a high ticket offer in one call?
Yeah.
I know you really well. I'm completely pre-sold. Here's my credit card. Fabulous. How often does that happen? Over the
Yeah.
course of my agency, I think I've literally had one call close twice,
Hmm.
because, you have the pre-call, you have the call, and then, like you said, you have the decision call. So is that 3 calls? No, that's technically 2. You didn't do a sale until the second one. So that's a
Hmm.
2 call close. And some take longer than that. But I think that one call close, if you're trying to make that happen in your agency, you're gonna be disappointed.
I'm gonna burn a lot of leads too, because it's harder to get someone to come back if you've like put that pressure on them, or like they haven't been nurtured enough and they're not sold on you yet. And so yeah, I find that this longer term nurture approach, you make the most money in the long run, guaranteed,
Yeah,
and serve the most people.
yeah, exactly.
So, talking about fulfillment a little bit. So, we talked about how you started to build a team, you started buying back your time. What were some of your first hires, and how did you kind of decide, okay, like these are the people I need to start scaling?
Well, in February 2024, I lost almost half my clients due to an account manager that I brought in to be my like 2IC and second in charge, not an operations manager, and I put too much trust in that person, and they were basically back selling their own product, their own services.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was horrible. So it made me decide who my hires needed to be. So I cleaned house, and I kept my fulfillment person, who's my ads person, which is fantastic. They've been with me for 6 years now. I mean, it's just crazy. Very, very good. Again, super over delivering for our meta clients. Our PPC clients we do really, really well for. So I started with, as the podcast came in, I wanted an EA, right? I needed an executive assistant to start taking stuff off my plate. I can't be this person that writes books and does webinars if I'm doing everything else. So she took over my inbox and organized my inbox so I don't only have to look at things she tells me to look at, right? She manages all the notifications to the people that want to be on the podcast, and getting the links. I mean, everything I want to take off my plate. If you see me on social media, it's not me. I'm literally not doing it. I have people that do that. My next hire was a video audio graphics person, and which helped bringing in the podcast. And so now all I do is record, and then I let the team know it's done, and they go take care of everything from the recording, the audio, the video shorts, publishing, everything. I do nothing anymore. I just do the recording and say, okay, guys, it's done. So
Amazing.
it's all of those things that I don't have to do anymore. But I think there's a thing I used to do every Friday, and I don't do it that often anymore. It's called 5 Questions to Clarity. And you sit down and you look at everything you did this week. And it could be that you need to take 2 weeks and have a little piece of a notebook paper and write down everything you do all day long. And it's silly, it sounds like a waste of time, but when you figure out as the CEO the things that you're stopping doing so you can fix something for somebody else because you could do it faster, imagine how much you're pinging from things to things, which makes you lose focus and take longer to do one task.
Yes.
Take those things and get them off your plate. And I have my customer success manager is the one that does most of this for me. And when, she's the one that says, okay, I saw this on your calendar and you don't need to be doing that. I can do that for you. So she proactively is watching my calendar and goes, nope, I'll take that and you can have that 30 minutes back.
That's brilliant.
So,
Yeah. I just started doing the same exact thing actually. So I started offering fractional CMO services to certain higher end businesses. And I'm kind of getting my hands dirty in the beginning right now. Like I'm building the landing pages, I'm doing the copywriting, I'm kind of doing all of it. And then each day I keep a log of like, here's what I did today. And then I can put beside each task, like, okay, who else could handle this? Like, what do I absolutely need to be doing? And then, building a landing page, like that could save me hours if I just delegate that. It's things like that. So I'm kind of preemptively seeing the exact tasks from my daily log. I can feed it into AI and be like, hey, like how many instances of the word funnel builder comes up? Like just so I can see like how much of my time am I really spending here? And like, do I need to hire this person? And it will give me a breakdown of like, here's who you need on the team kind of thing.
and that's the other person I hired is an IT person that's very comfortable and knowledgeable at Go High Level, as well as WordPress. So the other thing we did in March was built a complete niche website instead of just a funnel for Law Marketing Zone. And so it's this full website that now has service and city pages, so that we're getting more and more SEO juice out of all the new pages that go in every week. And I don't do any of that. So it's, having someone that's technical, because I was the IT person in my company for the longest time. So now having someone else take that on has been incredibly helpful.
Nice. Yeah, that's huge. So if you can write out all the tasks that you do on a daily basis and right beside it, like the type of person that you need. I'm a big fan of Upwork for hiring talent. I think it's pretty efficient for testing people out and finding cost-effective labor globally. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my approach, and just knowing
I've
how to
used
manage and vet people is
Yeah,
important.
exactly. Upwork is great. I've used Octotasker as well, which is they vet and train people, and onlinejobs.ph. And you just have a process that they eliminate themselves from the process. So, and you only talk to the people that actually pass your tests.
Yes. What was the first one you mentioned? I don't think I've heard of it.
Octotasker,
Yeah,
that's
I haven't.
Daniel Jones. He and his wife, they are he's American, they're in North Macedonia, and they do Jamaican and Central American, Caribbean people that were let go from a lot of the call centers and stuff that closed and moved.
Hmm.
And they've taken those people and they run them through like 40 hours of training to do VA stuff, sales, cold calling, account management, just lots of different things like that. And they train people. And then whenever you say, okay, I need to hire somebody, they'll say, give me your SOPs. They'll give you, several people to choose from. You pick who you like the most, and they will train them on your SOPs before they start work for you.
Wow, that's pretty effective. That also takes a little bit of the training load off of you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we look at, the people that I've gotten from them were, okay, let's look at personalities. Let's, who do I want to work with? Do you want to work with male or female? And yes, you could do that virtually. In the US, you can't do that. You can't discriminate. But, I wanted to work with mostly women because I know the type of work we get. And yeah, they were instrumental in helping us build a team like that.
Wow, that's amazing. So how big of a team do you have now?
Right now, we're six.
Six.
Yeah.
So you have video editor, executive assistant, who else you got?
Account manager, IT, fulfillment.
Wow, and you've outsourced all of that overseas
Yes,
or
I've got one
in
that's
other
in the
countries?
US, yeah, one that's in the US, and then we have Philippines, Belize, and Canada. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like you got a solid team in place, the lead gen's cranking, nurture's happening, doing these webinars, enrolling clients. So you got the system pretty well dialed at this point.
It's pretty dialed in. We get, every now we run into glitches with Go High Level, and that's really our hangnail from time to time is just trying to get whatever happened there done. About January 24th, a bunch of our emails started going, and one of our sub accounts started going to spam and it just out of the blue. And
Hmm.
come to find out, a lot of agencies had the same problem. There's a whole thread about it in the Facebook group of Go High Level. So we're still struggling to get that handled and move from there to, we had a dedicated domain to jumping to Mailgun to see if that would help and going back. And actually, we're splitting our emails across 4 domains so that we can have 25% going everywhere. And so it'll save, the domain. I mean, it's just ridiculous how long it's taken to even get this handled because Go High Level support couldn't figure out what was going on either.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, not to get too technical, but I think a lot of their email service is all shared through Lead Connector. So,
Mhm.
enough problems across enough accounts could inadvertently hurt yours, I imagine.
Yeah, and I've always been dedicated domain. So, and my other sub accounts are not affected. My main
Hmm.
sub account that I use for my agency is the only one that's affected, which is
Interesting.
which is like stubbing your toe, right? You're like everything is clicking and rolling really nicely, and it's like, oh, wait.
Dang. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the nature of digital marketing. There's always little things that come up that turn into big problems.
Tech tweaks, man. Exactly.
Yeah. So what's next for you and your agency? What's kind of your vision for this year?
Um, I would like to. I'd look to see breaking 7 figures this year. We've done
Hmm.
really really well, but I'd like to break 7 figures this year, and ideally exit in about 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So build up a nice recurring base of clients and find a buyer.
Yep. I mean, I've got clients that's been with me for pushing 4 years now, so it's, you know, we do a good job and long and consistently. So we've proven that time and again. So, one of our newest clients, she worked for an old client, and then things happened, changed, moved. And her first month with us, we got her 23 cases, $89,000 in retainers. And she was coming from an agency that she got zero ROI, wasn't even sure she was going to be able to renew, but she knew the kind of work that we did. And so now she's tickled and she's made new hires to be able to keep up.
Amazing. Yeah. And the differentiator of being able to get results. I mean, there's a lot of,
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at the market as a whole, I mean, a lot of people have bought like how to make money online, start a marketing agency type program, and then they show up and they kind of dilute the pool and like hurt other people's credibility and create a lot of skepticism in the market at large. So
yeah,
being able to actually get results and have a track record, I mean, I think today that's more important than ever. Having testimonials, having case studies, showing your work, having authority building pieces like your books, stuff like
yeah.
that. It's like a huge differentiator.
Agreed. I mean, it's like how many of us have seen the posts in Facebook, hey, I just sold a $3,000 package. Can somebody teach me what to do to deliver it? I just cringe when I see that. And I'm like, you just burn somebody for 3 grand. That's going to burn them for everybody else that can help them because you sold them something you can't deliver. That's just wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, it's like we all got to start somewhere, but also like having the skills to back up what you do is like probably step one, honestly.
Yeah. Find somebody who can deliver and give that client away, and you just need to stop.
Hmm. Wow. So how many clients away are you from the seven-figure level?
Um, Attainable.
Attainable? Doable in a year, you think?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like they say, you're one JV away from a seven-figure agency, and I've luckily with the again coming back to the podcast, the virtual events, the networks I've built. I've got two potential JVs in the works right now that one could do it,
Hmm.
and not be like a franchise. Of course, obviously law firms aren't franchise, but I've got friends that are in other industries that one franchise could throw them over 7 figures. But also if that franchise makes a change, it could put you back where you started from. So luckily these
Totally.
two potential JV partnerships are not dependent like that. So they just make a recommendation, not a requirement, and that would be so it's the goal is very attainable this year.
Hmm. Yeah, I've done a lot with JVs, and like a word of caution is to make sure that the expectations are super clear. And a lot of times, like you have to provide a lot of the assets. So, for example, I'm helping someone market an event right now, and it's like I'm creating all the promotional marketing, and then I have to
Mhm.
get it to the JVs, and I have to be very clear of like, here's the promotion schedule, and here's what we expect from you. Because a lot of times people agree to do JVs, and then they're like, oh, I didn't know I had to like do this stuff, or like, oh, you want me to do
Yeah.
what? So having those expectations and a schedule and a timeline of how things go is super important because otherwise they a lot of times they don't connect the dots and they don't think about it.
That's true. And being in the digital marketing since the mid-90s, when it was still becoming new and there was, it was the Wild West, there was a big frontier that could be, challenged out there, I would get people coming to me that weren't as tech savvy and they had an idea for a business. And all we needed was somebody to build the tech part of it. And if you do that, I'll put the money in. Well, considering there's nothing going on until that's done, I did that, I think, once. And it was like, okay, so there's nothing there after we spend all this time, I spend all this time building this stuff. So no, when it comes to JV, it's literally everybody has skin in the game or Marilyn doesn't help.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
not, it's
that's
not, it's
good.
not my skin in your game. I can't, too many times it's been like that and I see it coming. I mean, like flashing lights, you can see it coming. If you are not bought into the process, but you want my work and you want to benefit from it, no, it's not a win-win.
Mhm. Yeah, it's got to be good for both parties.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, just kind of wrapping things up here. What are like three pieces of advice you'd give to somebody? Let's say they're at like mid to high six figures, they're looking to scale. Maybe they're a little bottlenecked for time and they're trying to figure out their systems for lead gen and for lead nurture to really get consistency in their business. What are three pieces of advice you'd give to that agency owner?
If you're that big and you don't have systems and SOPs, then wow. So systems and SOPs, absolutely. And start working on your organizational chart. Like we talked about, get stuff off your plate, what you shouldn't be doing. And if you're at that point, you should be an authority. You should already have things out there that people, when they think about your niche, they think about you. Whether it's your YouTube channel or your LinkedIn channel or all of the above, you know, and podcasts, just start a monthly podcast if nothing else and see, you know don't be that marketing thing. So I have a friend that did is like the marketing podcast for his niche, right? And it was kind of difficult to get people on it, so we rebranded to being the leadership. He doesn't call it leadership, business growth of his niche, right? People lining up to be on it. So nobody wants to be sold, even if it's by that. Mine is leadership, because we want to learn, as an attorney, you have to become the leader of your team. At any small business, you have to become a leader of your team. So run a podcast that doesn't have to do with marketing, and then make it about marketing if you want, but that's not the title of it. So you'll get more people listening, and it gives you more diversity to talk about. Interview your competition as well, and just, but SOPs and more authority, and build your team to take stuff off your plate.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I bring that up because there's a lot of businesses I work with who have built themselves up through networking, through referrals, through attending live events. Maybe they have some associations that they're a part of, but they haven't invested enough into building the long-term assets and online infrastructure to really succeed. So it's a tough path because you can only go so far through events, through networking, and it
True.
works to a certain point. But if you need more rapid scalability or more velocity in terms of your client acquisition, then it's a tough path. It has its limitations.
And true, if you also envision exiting at some point, you want to make sure that your agency is not you, right? I
Hmm.
mean, I've trademarked my brands, so that gives an asset to be able to be purchased. So yes, I do things under Marilyn Jenkins, but I do a lot under Law Marketing Zone. So you got to think about the end game as well whenever you're thinking if you're at that point, do you want to exit, or is this a lifestyle and you're really enjoying it? It's both are correct answers. Right? But if you want to exit, try to build as much of not you as an asset, so that if you sell, you're not selling, you don't have to be the face of the business.
Mm. Yeah, that's actually something I address. I just put together a scaling roadmap, and it's one of the first things I do when I work with a new client. And basically, that's like one of the key questions that we look at, because if they're like, hey, I just want like a cash printing lifestyle business, the strategy and approach is going to be very different than if they're like, hey, I want to exit this thing in 3 to 4 years.
Right.
It's two different modes of operating in two different angles. So I find it's really important to have clarity on that, like long-term vision, so that when I'm
Yep.
helping someone, it's not like 3 years later, they're like, oh, this is actually what I want to do. And it's like, well, we haven't built that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, that's a big transition, but knowing what you want. I mean, neither one is the incorrect answer. Just choose what your desire is.
mm, brilliant. Well, it's been wonderful having you on, Marilyn. So glad we got to connect. Anything you want to say in closing before we go?
Yeah, I just, keep adding value and growing, and good luck to everybody. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, likewise. Great to be on with you. And if there's any way people can connect with you, where would you suggest they get to know you more?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Marilyn Jenkins, and you can find that picture right there, and lawmarketingzone.com. You can always book a 15-minute call with me if that's something that you want to chat about.
Brilliant. Cool, Marilyn. Thanks so much.
Thank you.